Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Pastor D. Listen, I want you to know that handling conflict and having tough conversations doesn't have to give you a heart attack. It doesn't have to bring you anxiety, but it is something that, with proper care and proper honesty, it can actually produce a beautiful improvement to your relationships. In every area of your life. So today we're going to talk about the importance of having those tough conversations. And so we're going to jump right into the podcast now. Don't go nowhere. We're getting ready to get started right now. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Living from Sunday to Sunday podcast. I am your host, Pastor B. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Of course, this is the best 15 minutes of your day because real change happens 15 minutes at a time. Do me a quick favor, y'all. Download, share this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications as well, so that you are notified whenever a new episode of this podcast drops. All right. So today we're going to talk about how to handle tough conversations, how to navigate those conversations. In full transparency, I have to admit this isn't an area that I've always been good at. There's still plenty of opportunities in terms of me handling tough conversations. It's been something that has I don't know, just never been something that I was eager to do. Right. Hearing somebody say, hey, I need to talk to you, or it's time to talk, or having the talk, right? It's sometimes I would feel like a tightness in my chest. And for a long time, I was trying to figure out, like, why is that the case? Like, what is so difficult about having tough conversations and handling conflicts? Because in order for any type of growth in any relationship, you have two people who aren't always going to see eye to eye, and every once in a while, you'll need to have difficult conversations where the goal or the outcome may be that you don't always agree, right? But I believe that avoiding conflict is something that is dangerous to any type of relationship. And if I'm, being honest, it's something that I've learned from making a lot of mistakes, trying to avoid conflict. So today we're going to talk about it. As we grow older, life is not filled with an endless cycle of carefree moments, right? We have to have heart-to-heart conversations, and so I think it starts with having conversations with yourself, being completely honest about where you are, who you are, and in the current status of your surroundings and your current life. Many times we look at our lives, and it's very, very easy to blame other people. It's very easy to see opportunities that other people could have done, or areas where other people may have failed us. But I think the reality is that many of our life's choices were made whenever we didn't fully assess, right? We made wrong choices. We you know, s- established bad relationships. We took bad advice. And so the first person that we have to have a tough heart to heart conversation with is ourselves. It's just to admit, man, I really fumbled the bag. I really messed up. The reason my life is the way it is at this moment is because of me. right? There's no need to sugarcoat it, no need to lie to yourself, no need to see the world 100% under rose colored glasses, right? Sometimes it is what it is, and we just have to be honest with ourselves. And so once we have the difficult conversation with ourselves, admitting our wrong, admitting our role in hurting others, our role in being a trickster, a manipulator, right? Trying to get over on people. Once we admit that, then I believe that helps us in the path of both restoration and maturation, right? It's difficult for you to grow up if you can't admit the truth, right? And so then I think, secondly, we have to have heart to heart conversations with others and learn how to do that. I don't think it's something that everyone knows how to do it. I think through life's challenges and life's experiences, you kind of grow into becoming a better person and handling conflict. I think there's a couple of reasons um, why it's difficult for us to have hard conversation. I think the first part is a fear of rejection. A lot of times we want to please people because we are addicted to people, saying good things about us and people loving us. Like, we're addicted to that. And so we don't want to ever feel rejected, because a lot of times we take that as a personal character flaw when that's not always the case, right? We love the current status of our relationships, even if they're not really benefiting us, right? We'll stay longer in a bad relationship or in an adverse situation, and not face the reality of it, because even though it's hurting me, even though it's making me sick, it's comfortable. I know the parameters of my current environment, and stepping outside and saying no and moving on past what I currently have. It's possible that that could hurt me, it could reject me. And so I think whenever we have tough conversations around or past our fear of rejection, we don't sweep the truth under the rug, right? We are just honest and we tell ourselves, all right, it's probably not going to be as bad as I think. And that's typically what happens, right? Whenever we avoid conflicts, we're thinking that the end of the world is coming, or even the end of relationships is near. And many times we're able to kind of let people know how we feel. And sometimes we're able to maintain the same level of relationship. Sometimes it even goes deeper whenever we choose to be honest with ourselves and with our partners, right? And so we have to face and press through our fear of rejection. The other fear I think that we run into is a fear of accountability, right? And this is whenever we're selfish, whenever we think that we can do no wrong, or whenever we just don't like hearing the truth, right? We don't want to be accountable to the errors that we've made. And so we would rather avoid those conflicts, and avoid those come to Jesus moments, as they're called, just so that, no one will ever tell me how bad I am, right? And this is something I've learned in marriage, something I've learned just in serving in ministry and just being a regular person. Just because you avoid it doesn't mean that it goes away. The whole out of sight, out of mind is like dirt, right? If you don't clean your home, if you leave something sitting, and you don't address it, the dirt will cake up. The dirt will pile on, even if, excuse me, even if there is no attention being paid to it, right? And so we have to, we can't fear accountability, right? It's only through being accountable and being responsible for our choices that we can develop and grow into the people that God wants us to be, right? We, you know, when you look at the Garden of Eden, right? One of the things that's very interesting about God, who is all knowing, who is um, omnipresent, right? So he's everywhere all at the same time. He knows everything. He asked Adam after he ate of the fruit, "Where are you?" And it's interesting because God could see Adam. He can see he knew exactly where Adam was, but Adam didn't know, right? And so accountability allows us to honestly acknowledge and assess where we are. And so that is why we have to push past our fear of accountability and just say, man, I probably need to admit this, or I need to um, own up to my mistakes so that I can grow and move past this. And again, and one of the most beautiful things about God is that His accountability doesn't mean that He's throwing us away. It doesn't mean that He is severing our relationship. He wants us to actually have our relationship with Him restored, and it's only through honesty. It's only through forgiveness. It's only through being um, transparent with our current situation that God is able to do that, right? So let's push past our fear of rejection and push past our fear of accountability. And you know, the benefits of having those difficult conversations, I believe, is that you have healthy relationships, right? Um, I'll be celebrating 20 years of marriage next year. And, you know, marriages have ebbs and flows, right? Some days and some months, some years are great, others are not. And one of the things that I have noticed is there were periods in our marriage where there was not a lot of conversation and confrontation, but it was during those quiet moments that there was a lot of things under the surface that were bothering us, but we didn't want to talk about it. We didn't want to address it. You know, we have a fairly peaceful relationship, right? And so peace maintaining peace does not mean that it's absent of conflict. It actually means that you attack it together, right? And so that is one of the things about um, conflict is that conflict produces growth if it's handled properly. It actually unifies you to have a greater appreciation, a deeper love, if you're able to work through conflict together. So, my challenge to you today is not to ignore conflicts. Um, you know, man up, woman up, and have those heart to heart conversations. You know, whether you initiated yourself or whether someone else does, don't be afraid to speak honestly and speak truthfully. And hopefully, the relationship that you're in, there's an environment to where you can speak freely without fear of judgment and without fear of retribution. All right. So thank you again so much for listening to today's podcast. Of course, you can find this podcast everywhere where podcasts can be found. Good Pod, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure again that you like, download, and share this podcast with everyone, your friends, family as well. All right. So until next time, thank you again, and we'll see you when we see you. Bye, y'all. Thank you for listening to the Living from Sunday to Sunday podcast. All episodes are available everywhere where podcasts can be found. Make sure that you like the show, download, and subscribe so you won't miss out on any of the future Thank episodes. You for listening to the Living from Sunday to Sunday podcast. All episodes are available everywhere where podcasts can be found. Make sure that you like the show, Download and subscribe so you won't miss out on any of the future episodes. Remember, real change happens between Sundays. Talk to you soon.